Study session, Mayor and City Council meeting, 4 p.m. Wednesday, March 10, 2021, City Hall Complex. I call this meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Madam Clerk, will you please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The three discussion item. Number one, discussion, possible direction on the recruitment process of city manager with CPS HR Consulting. Mr. Johnson?
Mayor, if I may, we've reached out to CPS HR Consulting and actually have a representative of the firm here with us virtually, Miss Melissa Asher. Yes, and she is willing to give us a proposal or at least talk about the recruitment process they offer. And with all due respect, I'd like to hand it over to her.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Very happy to be with you here today. Let me just do maybe a quick procedural check about how much time would you like me to present? And I do have a presentation if that would be helpful, or if you prefer another format, that works for me too. What is your pleasure?
Well, as long as the time that it takes you to do it, as long as you will not exceed close to 5:30.
Oh, okay. No. Well, I could probably talk about executive search all day long, but absolutely won't keep you that long. Would it be appropriate to?
You're in California?
Yes.
Okay, your time is different.
Well, I assure you, we do work after 5 on a pretty regular occasion, so that does not
It's 4:10
bother
here
us.
with us. It's 4:10 right now.
Okay, very good. Right. 1 hour difference. Okay, then well, perhaps I can share my presentation. It might be nice to have a visual aid. Let's see here. Here we go. And let me know, are you seeing the PowerPoint slide?
No.
I will see you.
Okay.
It didn't go through.
Okay, well, no worries. Then let me stop sharing there. And I'll talk through our process. We'll just proceed like this. So, hello, everyone. I'm Melissa Asher. I'm the director at CPS HR Consulting for our executive search unit. I've been with the firm for about 16 years now, and I've been in the HR field for about 25 years. And one of the things that we put forth in our proposal was a team. One of the things that we like to do at CPS for our executive searches is to have somewhat of a team approach. We have a number of recruiters. We have 5, really 5.5, and I'll explain the half in just a minute, who do full-time executive search work for us. We had proposed Frank Rojas in our proposal, but as I mentioned to Mr. Thompson earlier today, we have had a staffing change, so Frank would not be the recruiter who would be taking forth this important search if we were to be selected. What we would propose instead is that Miss Pam Derby, who is actually the supervising executive recruiter, would be the recruiter who would be leading this particular search and would have the full support of our firm here. We're based in Sacramento, California. So that would be other recruiter resources as well as a couple of administrative support folks. So you may or may not know very much about CPS HR Consulting. We're kind of an unusual type of a firm. We're actually a public agency. We were formed back in 1985, and we are run by a board of directors. That board of directors is comprised of individuals from cities, counties, special districts, actually across the United States. So several of those are located in California. but we also have a board member in Nevada, a board member in Florida, North Carolina, as well as Texas. Because we are a public agency and we were created in this way and governed by a board, our full mission and all of the services that we provide are dedicated to excellence in the public sector. So we work exclusively with local government, state government, a smidgen in the federal government, and with special districts. So that's kind of unique in this entity that we specialize so heavily in working with public sector to fill their executive level positions. Again, because we are supported by a board, we are a public agency, but we are completely self-funded. So we don't receive any sort of public funding. All the funding that we receive comes from the services and the products that we provide. So it's really important that what we provide out to our clients is top-notch, because we want to make sure that the clients we have are delighted with our work and that we can continue a relationship with them, and if they require assistance down the road or in another matter, that they think about us here at CPS HR Consulting. We have really 3 guiding values at CPS, and the first one is caring for the customer. So that is paramount to us, having really exceptional client relationships, setting expectations up front, really amping up the communication to meet your frequency and style needs. We also feel it's very important to care for our employees. So that kind of harkens back to our team approach that we take. We have a very collaborative team. We want to make sure that our recruiters are not competing with each other for candidates, and we are making sure that the right candidates are being presented to the right clients to achieve that perfect fit. And then we care for our organization. Overall health makes for a really nice 3-pronged approach to the way we like to work in this space. We are, as I said, based in Sacramento, California, but we've been providing executive searches across the United States for about 18 years. And I would say in the last 5 years, we have really fairly dramatically increased the number of searches that we've been doing in the Southwest. So specifically, of course, California, but really increased quite a bit of the work that we've been doing in Arizona, in Nevada. We've started to move a little bit into New Mexico. We do have a fair amount of work that we do in Texas as well. That's probably one of our states where we do a little bit more work, as well as Colorado. But overall, we've done work, we've done placement in about 23 states across the nation. So a little bit about our process and how we would work with you. You saw from our proposal, we have really a 3-phase approach. The first approach is really about understanding the ideal candidate. And we think in this particular situation with you all, this is going to be really critical. There has been some press out there. You definitely have an idea of the type of new city manager that you would like to be working with, that you need to be working with for both you, the council, and for the community. So really understanding from you all, what does that look like? And we've got a process, a facilitated process that we take you through to really understand, what does this person need to possess? Of course, the experience, qualifications, what types of characteristics, what kind of attributes do you need to have a successful working relationship? So that is really part of phase 1, understanding that. And if there are other stakeholders, one of the areas we really excel at CPS is community engagement. So if there are other stakeholders that should be consulted as we define that ideal candidate profile, both to get that definition, but secondly, to also build more of that kind of buy-in to the process, to be very inclusive. Those are some nice benefits for community engagement. We can do that through one-on-one phone calls. We are very skilled at community meetings, virtual or in person. Of course, most everything has been virtual these days, as well as surveys. So a number of different methods that we would employ again, in that first phase, to really understand that candidate profile. And the reason it's so important is really for phase 2, because in phase 2, we're taking that information. We will have created marketing materials really to tell your story. And when it comes down to it right now in this environment, this COVID environment, which looks like we're, God willing, easing out of it with supplies and things of that nature, it's really important that we reach those passive candidates. Those folks that might not be actively looking. Sure, there's a network of city manager types out there looking. That's not typically who we'll be bringing in. What we find in our experience is we are reaching out and attracting those candidates who might not otherwise be aware or be interested. So that might be somebody who's not looking at all. That might be somebody who's looked but has some preconceived ideas or doesn't really understand the opportunity. So they're not really looking at it seriously. So that's what we do in phase 2, in that aggressive recruiting. In that phase, we are taking those marketing materials, a very nice brochure. We're using our candidate database. As I mentioned, we've been in business for 18 years. We have a very robust candidate database, and it's a very active candidate database. We are not a firm to recycle candidates. Every time we go out, we do active research, and we're actively tapping into those networks. Of course, ICMA is a very important network for us to be tapping into. A number of different associations, the League of Arizona Cities and Towns, some of the other National League of Cities, Arizona City County Management Association. So all of those places are areas that we're tapped into, and that we would of course put this opportunity out. So in this active, aggressive recruiting, we're going to also use social media to drive interest and to tell that story. Getting that story out there, finding those candidates, and then vetting those candidates. So that kind of circles back to why that phase 1 is so important. If we have a really clear picture of what you need, then we can much more successfully vet those candidates. They will apply to us. Our recruiters speak to every candidate who, once we get their application, they've fulfilled the minimum qualifications. We really pride ourselves on high candidate touch. We're talking with the candidates early in the stage. We're talking with them often as we're vetting them to then bring you, in this phase, a short list of candidates. And ideally, we'd like to bring you 6 to 8 highly qualified candidates that have been through our initial screening. We've had multiple conversations with them. They understand what it is that you are looking for, and based on what we have gleaned from our contact with them, we feel that they are worth serious consideration. So at that point, then, you all get to decide. Of course, we're going to present the information. You're going to get a very nice client report. We're going to summarize the candidate information. We're going to facilitate a dialogue with you. And then we'll move into the phase 3, where you can select then how many of those you wish to move into more of the selection process. So in the selection process, we're really going to talk about the logistics here, the panel interviews, who needs to be involved. Are there any assessments that we might want to have this candidate take? There are some fairly robust leadership assessments, personality type of assessments. We have a whole battery of those that we use from time to time. So depending on your needs, depending on how you all decide with our guidance about that selection process, we'll craft that, and then we will fully run that for you. We can also assist with employment negotiations. Of course, we're going to do a very thorough background check. We're going to do the reference checking. That's another point in the process where we don't rely on just a written document. We are reaching out. We're doing a 360 reference check where each candidate will have a minimum of 6 references, and we want them to be full circle, meaning 2 direct reports, 2 peers, as well as at least 2 supervisors. So we're really getting that full picture of how that candidate is showing up in the workplace. So one of the things I do want to touch on in terms of that outreach, and it is certainly has always been important, but I think in today's world has become perhaps just more to the forefront, is that we would advise and undertake a very diverse outreach effort. We think it's really important to provide to you a very robust, diverse candidate pool. So some of the techniques and outreach that we would propose putting forth would be around the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement, the Association of Hispanic Municipal Officers, Association of Latino Professionals for America, Minority Professionals Network, National Black MBA Association, National Forum for Black Public Administrators, Asian women, and there's just a number, but those I think certainly come to mind. The other thing that we do is we tap into some of the leaders in those types of associations. Our CEO, Jerry Greenwell, is quite active in the National Forum for Black Public Administrators, and so he often is able to be almost somewhat of an influencer in getting out job opportunities then that gets spread out into, again, that social media kind of organic marketing, which can be very effective. We also do have connections with and try to actively work with outreach and advertising for the for the Hispanic serving institutions and the historically Black colleges and universities. So their alumni groups can be quite helpful in spreading the word for the opportunity. Couple of things as I kind of wrap up my talking at you, and we could move into maybe more Q&A, is kind of what makes us different from other firms. Not sure if you've worked with a lot of other executive search firms, but some of the things that do really make us stand apart is that we are at CPS HR a full service HR consulting firm. We have a division, of course, my division, that is dedicated to executive search. And I mentioned we've been doing executive search for 18 years now. We have completed over 1,700 recruitments for more than 600 clients, and we have a very high repeat client rate. All of our recruiters are full-time executive recruiters. So they're not contract folks. They work full-time for us. And the benefit that we bring is they have active candidate networks. So they're doing this every day. They are working on cultivating candidates. They are working on understanding our clients. not 24/7, although some, we do certainly work very flexible hours, but all the time. That's their full-time job. They're not dusting off a Rolodex. I mean, they are really actively in this space. I will say, I mentioned that Pam Derby, who would be leading this effort, she actually comes from the public sector. That was what her background was before, and the team member that we would most likely team her directly with, Andrew Nelson, was a city administrator himself up in Wyoming. So that's another piece I think that's really important on our team, is that they all come out of the public sector background. So they have an understanding of what it takes to work in that environment. 51% of our placements are diverse candidates, and 91% of our placements are still working. They're still on the job after 3 years. So we're pretty proud of those statistics. We think that does speak to our success. We've done quite a bit of work in Arizona. Worked probably most recently with the city of Scottsdale, as well as the city of Tucson. We've worked with the city of Glendale, the town of Paradise Valley, Chandler, Goodyear, Coconino County, Apache Junction, Maricopa. So we are familiar with Arizona and have been, working there for the last, probably, I would say, 5 to 6 years, more in earnest. And we do have some current city manager searches that we're undertaking. One right now that Pam is doing for the city of Hercules, that's in California. That's a city that's about 25,000 in population, a little bit more of an urban area, but she is actively working that particular search now. We have done city manager searches for towns as small as about 12,000 in population to large cities like the city of Reno. We did just recently 250,000 population, and city of Anaheim a couple of years ago, 350 population. So we really do consider ourselves to be quite adept at finding city managers for cities of all different sizes. So with that, I'll take a pause, a breath, and really would invite any questions or any further clarifications that I can provide.
And all the cities that you mentioned in Arizona, did you find the city manager for all of them?
No, it was not city manager in all of those cases.
I noticed there's 3 of them. Oro Valley, Paradise. I noticed there's 3 on the list that we have here. Paradise Valley, Goodyear, and Oro Valley.
Yep. That's correct. That's correct. So
those were
the city manager.
Only ones that you found city managers for?
Those are the ones we found city managers for in Arizona.
Oh.
That's correct. For Scottsdale, the one that we completed just recently, it was actually a city clerk. But we do all types of different positions across city government. So Parks and Recs director, assistant city managers, we did that for Glendale, found theirs. Developmental Services Director, Director of Public Works. Maricopa was assistant to the city manager. So we do provide executive search services for multiple different types of positions.
And how do you do? How do you do with bilingual Hispanic city managers? Have you been successful in any?
Yes, we have. I would say, city of Salinas, which is a California city, it's in the Salinas Valley here, kind of mid-state or so, is one that we've done recently. That population was highly Hispanic. I actually grew up in the Salinas Valley, so highly Hispanic population there, and there was a need and an interest for the person to really be able to, again, understand the population, understand the unique challenges that the city of Salinas was facing. So that was a fairly recent one. The city of Aztec, New Mexico, is also a fairly recent recruitment that we did for city manager that also probably would meet that criteria. Those are the 2 that we've done most recently, I would say.
Well, Nogales is actually fairly new when it comes to the city manager form of government. It's about 20 years old since we first started with the city manager. And our first city manager was a woman. She did a good job. She was here for 2 years, but was not a city manager. She came from the school to city manager. But, the thing is that it's been kind of hard for city managers in Nogales. We had one very good in my previous administration. He was very intelligent, very good at everything, finances. I mean, he was great. But then I left, and then this next administration, did not renew his contract. But it's the problem with city managers in Nogales, and I'll just let you know because that's what has happened, is that the majority of the community right now, if you were to ask them, where would you want the city manager to be from? Where do you think they want him to be from?
Local.
Local, okay? And anybody you talk to, that's what they'll say, you know? But the way it's set up, it's that we don't have that many local with the experience, the time, and everything that would fit into the position. And so you know, the minute you say you're going to bring somebody from the outside, well, you can imagine what happens in the political arena. Everybody starts going, you know, well, why couldn't you get somebody local? But it's not everybody understands that you have all these, you know, you have to have a bachelor's, you have to have been a city manager, municipal city manager. You got all these things you have to have before you can even apply for it.
Absolutely.
We do have people here in Nogales that are highly qualified in their fields, but have never been city managers, and the majority of them wouldn't dare to even attempt to apply because they don't know if they're going to get it, and then they wouldn't want their employer to know that they're looking for a job in the city of Nogales, which is, you know, common to see this. But what I'm saying is that to get somebody for the city of Nogales to fit the position, that's what I'm going in that direction with you. You know.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to mention the community engagement. I think that's going to be really important for this particular search, to engage the community members, and part of that is education, right? Because it's been a little rocky. So, like, really engaging people in that conversation about what kind of a person do we need, and then them really understanding about the qualifications and the experience, because that's part of the process of the defining of this candidate. And it can be a very uplifting kind of process as people start to think about and make decisions about, of course, obviously you as a council will have the final say on this, but this input that you would get around this aspirational becomes really an aspirational type of an exercise, because it's really tied in with the community, right? I mean, the whole point is that we want to do the very best we can for our community. So by getting their input and getting them to really think through, you know, what type of a person do we really want to see at that helm, at that particular position, working in partnership with the council.
Yeah, you know, city managers, the way I look at it, because I've been to several city managers, and matter of fact, when the first city manager we had here, that was here the first time as city manager, I was the public works director at the time, and
Great.
Yeah, so you know, it's hard to look at things, you know, and especially at that time, when it was used to be before that, the year before was a strong mayor form of government. From moving from that transition to a city manager for an elected official is pretty hard. When he's used to administering everything, and now he no longer does that as mayor. So within the past 20 years, you would think that that's gone away. The public itself here in Nogales won't let you go away from it, because the phone calls that we get the phone calls, not the city manager, from our constituents. So they always have that, you know, it's a small community, but with such a big opportunity for economic development for the whole state and the nation. Yeah, I don't know if you know Nogales, but Nogales is the biggest port in the state of Arizona and trades in the billions of dollars in produce in the maquiladora industry. So the city manager needs to be able to relate to us and relate right across the border. He needs to relate with Mexico and to us, and that's why it's so important to be bilingual. But not only that, have that mindset that's what probably some of the members of the council expect from that person, because sometimes you need to deal with your counterpart in Nogales, Sonora, and so it's when I when it was mentioned to me by the acting city manager and the deputy city manager about your firm, your consulting firm, and I said, yeah, well, let's find out, because we attempted other ones, and we failed. A couple of councilmen here weren't here the last one, but the rest of us were here, and we don't need per se a part-time city manager. We need a full-time city manager that lives in Nogales, that relates to Nogales, and that relates to the city council and to the constituents. We can't have a person that's going to want to live somewhere else and then visit Nogales on Monday through Friday. Has to be here.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's
Isn't that written even into?
Yeah, it's written, but sometimes that doesn't happen. You have to. So there's that's why trying to find somebody to come from somewhere else, that person needs to know exactly what they're if you were to be successful in finding somebody, I really want to say you're going to be very lucky to find somebody that fits.
Well, I hear what you're saying.
I'm going to be honest with you because
we tried.
Because
Yeah,
the person needs to know Nogales. We thought a few of them knew Nogales, but some of them really didn't know. All they knew is that when they applied, they Googled Nogales, and that was the extent of knowing Nogales. And then we've had some that come to Nogales and are actually trained by our by our deputy city manager for the first 6 months, and so it's something that we have to take under consideration when it comes, because we do need a city manager, and we do need a new city manager because the possibilities for Nogales growth and economic opportunities are great, and we're depending on that. And we're hoping that we can find somebody soon so that we can, that take us in that direction. So basically, that's what I have to say. So,
well, and let me just a couple of comments in response to that. I really appreciate you sharing that with me. It sounds like you really need a partner, a partner with the council and a partner with the community. You mentioned bilingual, and it's interesting you said that. So one of the strategies that we've been using recently with some of our clients for diversity recruiting is actually advertising in multilingual publications. So in this case, really part of our campaign would probably be advertising in Spanish publications, right? That would be one way for us to do a little bit more active outreach and ensuring that not only is listed as a qualification, a necessary required qualification, but that we're actually outreaching to people through that channel. Couple of other things too. You mentioned, and this just had a smile. People who say, "Oh, I know," and yeah, I Googled it, and I got the whole 411, right, or 911, whatever. It's like, no. I mean, that's ideally one of the benefits of hiring a firm like ours. As I mentioned, that recruiter is going to spend lots of time talking to, especially that short list of candidates. So the recruiter their job is to vet a lot of this out. Like if this candidate, we're going to ask them, you would need to live in the city. And if that is at all, troubling, then the recruiter isn't going to say goodbye at that moment, but the recruiter is going to be assessing all of those different factors. And by the time that you get that short list, it is our job to have really screened down those kind of got you types of things. We are doing some behind the scene research on that short list of candidates to also uncover anything that, needs to be revealed before we're putting them in front of you. So not the full background check, but you probably understand what I'm saying. We have to do our job so that those gotchas are being taken care of. And we do have a 1-year guarantee. You probably saw that in our proposal. If the candidate we place through the process with you all leaves within that first year, then we come back and we roll up our sleeves and we continue working for you. There would be some additional, just direct, probably advertising expenses, but we are here to make sure that you are successful.
Councilman Diaz, were you going to say something, sir?
Yes, hi Melissa, this is Councilman Diaz, and I was going to talk about challenges of working here in the city of Nogales. The mayor did an excellent job of presenting the challenges facing the city manager if he were, to get hired here, what the challenges are. Some of our, a big part of our challenges right now is with this COVID, that the border was shut down for a year, and all our merchants are struggling here in Nogales to keep their doors open. Some of them even left. We have a downtown that's dying, that there's no more business down there. So the city manager would have a big play in what happens as far as economic development, finance. We're doing a lot of infrastructure projects that need to be done because our infrastructure in some places are 100 years old. Employees, we have retirement liabilities that we're paying down. So there's a lot of challenges that come with the job, and we need somebody that's sharp, that's good. But then on our budget, we have our entrance, our midpoint, and our high point. I don't know if you saw our budget as far as what we paid for the position. So that's going to be another challenge that your firm is going to have to deal with, as far as what this person is going to get paid, their benefits, and everything that goes along with that. Because right now we're economically the city of Nogales is good. We're stable. We're firm. But we just can't go spend a lot of money and yeah, we have money. Let's spend it. No, we have to be very frugal, right? So we have to watch our spending, because there is bonds that we have to pay, and our finances. We're looking 30 years in the future to pay all this off. So we want to keep going the way we're going. So there's a lot of things challenges that have to be looked at. Your company has to look at the challenges that we're mentioning right now, so you can get the qualified candidate, a good candidate that is going to be here for a few years. That's going to maybe like Nogales and move down here and stay forever, right? Once you taste it, you never go away. You stay here, right? So, those are some of the things I wanted to talk about. So, make you aware of it, and hopefully we can come to a good understanding, a good decision, and get a qualified candidate. And I see your process is about 16 weeks from start to finish.
That's correct. We about 4 months.
Okay, yeah, because we have an acting city manager right now, and we're only allowed 6 months, and then we have to change. So 4 months.
So there are some things that we can do to shortcut that process potentially, but given what you're sharing with me and what we had somewhat surmised going into this, we do think it's going to be important to spend the time up front in this engagement process, really understanding the challenges, and then at least 30 days where our recruiter team is actively talking with and sourcing candidates, because we have to find the right candidate, and perhaps that candidate we zero in on more of a statewide search in response to some of the things that you've shared with me here. It might be advantageous to do that. I wouldn't want to limit the pool because you never know if you're going to do the search. It never hurts to cast a wide net. And I'm also hearing that, we need someone who's experienced, and someone who's got the financial acumen, the political acumen, community relations, and really it sounds like being quite forward thinking in terms of the direction and the bright future that you have in front of you with some of the projects and coming out of COVID. I understand Arizona's done a better job perhaps than some of the other states in getting vaccinations and things like that out. So I'm optimistic for the nation, but it does seem like that part of the country may be ahead of some others.
We're doing a lot better than California.
Yes, you are. You are reading between my lines exactly.
But yeah, you're right, Councilman. It's there's some challenges here, for a city manager, but this is a great place to live. If you have a family, it's a great place to bring up your family. Our schools are the best in the state. Our high school here, we graduate more kids than anywhere else. So
Wow.
there's a lot that we expect probably as council and as Nogalians of a city manager, but there's a lot that the city manager can also benefit from the city of Nogales and the opportunities. We've talked about it. I know Councilman Bojorquez mentioned one time that when we say somebody local, it doesn't always mean somebody from Nogales. It means somebody from the state of Arizona.
Right.
Because almost anybody in the state of Arizona that was born and raised here or has any idea, they know what Nogales is. They know that Nogales is the biggest port and the model port of the state. So they know how important the port of Nogales is for the whole state. So, that's probably the best information I can give you when you start looking for a city manager. We tried that, but we weren't successful. And there were a couple, by the time we called them, they had already gotten a job. So that's what. But we did that internally. We did it with our human resources and our deputy city manager and ourselves. But we weren't successful in that, and that's why I think the acting city manager reached out to you too, for this, and then we don't want to be pressured by our city attorney anymore, saying that we need to get a city manager. So that's him right there. He's the one to say you better get one soon, Mayor. No, but
Oh boy.
yeah, I know. He's a good man. Yeah, he's all right. Councilman, were you going to say something, sir?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Ms. Asher, one point also that, I think, you should know is, a lot of people talk about, the main thing is the salary. Nogales is not an expensive place to live. Fortunately, our rents down here, it's not like Tucson, Phoenix, where your rents are $1,500, $2,000 per month on a 2-bedroom apartment or something like that. A good house here, you're looking at easy, comfortable house. You're looking at low 100s or mid 100s, not like California where you're in the 200,000-300,000.
A million.
Right. Wow.
For a small house, it's a very, our crime rate is tremendous, low, nothing, almost nothing, which is great. We have great, both, police department, fire department, and we just saw the community that reach out to everybody, and it's a safe place to live. Even though we're in the border, we're not like other border cities that have problems with their neighbors. I think we're very at ease with crime rates and a very good relationship with our sister city, which is Nogales, Sonora. Uh, you know, but I think the one thing that a lot of people look at when this job comes about is the price or the salary. But I think the salary we're offering is a very good salary for the city to live in. For anybody living here in Nogales.
Well, you all are helping write the marketing materials, right? Great schools, great cost of living, affordable, family-oriented, economic development being the biggest port there, low crime rate. I mean, these are all of the pieces to the story that we put together and we're putting out. We want to tell that full story about the opportunity, being part of that community and playing this important role. One of the things I'll say too about the compensation and the salary, since we are a full service HR consulting firm, we actually have a whole group that works on compensation. They do a lot of compensation studies. And one of the things that our recruiters are expected to do for any engagement is to do some of that canvassing. So what we'll be looking at are the comparables, for cities of your size, and the breadth. I mean, what you've talked about in terms of the environment. I mean, what are those comparable compensation points? And it's sounding like that probably will come to find exactly what you've said. It's a very good compensation for the opportunity. We'll be able to provide you with, and candidates as well, because that's going to be important, that comparison data. Because you don't know what you don't know if you're a candidate always. So we can provide those points of reference for them that can really highlight that, oh no, this really is quite a good market rate. So that's piece that we would do anyways in terms of the compensation to help that conversation. It does always come up with candidates. I'll be honest with you, not just in your city, across the board. Compensation is one of those factors that candidates are interested in, and why we have those conversations up front. By the time you are talking with that short list of highly qualified candidates, we've already vetted and probed around the compensation, because the last thing we want to have happen is for a candidate to fall out at the end because of compensation, because they didn't understand the expectation there. We do not ever want that to happen.
Yes, go ahead.
I have a question. Melissa, it shows here that it takes up to 16 weeks. In the event that it takes longer, what happens? Your professional service covers only 4 months. Then do we have to pay more, or how does it work?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that. It's a flat fee. So if it takes longer than 4 months for, whatever reason, and obviously those would be conversations we would be having with you all along the way about the timeline, so it wouldn't be a surprise. We wouldn't get to that, last week and say, oh, guess what? We've got to keep going and we need some more compensation. So no, that does not happen. That fee covers all of our services until we find you, the right candidate. So if it takes 2 more weeks, if it takes another month, I mean, our goal is not to have it drag out. We, like you, are sensitive to candidates who, in the process drop out, because perhaps the process is taking too long. So we have to balance that. There would be no additional cost.
Melissa, another thing the councilman was mentioned, if you were to go into the FBI Uniform Crime Report, you'll see that the stats for the city of Nogales, it's unbelievable for being along the border. Per capita, we have more law enforcement here than Tucson and Phoenix, because we have all the agencies in the world are working by the border. That's the tendency of living by the border, and in a community like ours, that we've had a great relations with our sister city in Nogales, Sonora. We help each other on with in the environmental issues, with even with sports. You know, where there's so much in relation with both cities that anybody that would want to be a city manager, and where Mr. Maldonado also mentioned, we have our amount, the amount that we can afford, basically.
Mhm.
We've had some real good people apply, but they want a $250,000 to be a city
Don't we
manager.
all?
Yeah, to be a city manager of a city of 24,000. You know,
Yeah.
this is not Phoenix or Scottsdale or California. You know, more.
Yeah,
You know, a lot of
absolutely.
city managers over there, that's what they get, because we had one of our city managers move to California, and he's making the big bucks over there. And he's a resident. He was born and raised here in Nogales. All right, you know, we've been through a lot, you know, and not all of us in office, but all of us as residents of the city of Nogales. So those are you know, basically a lot of things that we've been looking at, and you know, that's why basically we express these things, you know, because it's so important to us, because we
Absolutely.
each one of us has a little piece of our heart in a certain direction for the residents of Nogales. If it's not art and culture, it's sports with the kids, it's education, it's infrastructure, it's everything. We all have a little bit. Those are the things that I strongly believe a city manager should understand wherever he goes to work. You know, if he wants to have good relations with the council that's in office.
Absolutely.
It's a
Having
two-year term. You can make it a 2-year, you can make it a 4-year, you can make it a 6-year. It all depends up to the city manager.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, that is going to be why that selection process that we design, you know, once we get to that short list of candidates, is so important, because that really does come down to, you know, if there's a subcommittee or if it's the whole council, really making sure that we've designed a process where you can see how these candidates really are. How are they going to be? How's it going to be working with them? Where is their heart?
And most likely,
Very transparent.
Most likely, Melissa, whoever was to be selected, or whoever, 5 or 6 or 8, like you say, they will be interviewed by the city council, not by a committee.
Then we would agree with that.
That's something that I don't think any city council anywhere would allow a committee to interview, and then without, you know, us being part of the interview process of it. You know, at least the way I feel. I'm not talking about because with the rest of the council, but the way I feel, if anybody's going to screw up, it's going to be me. Or if I'm going to be if it's going to be successful, it's going to be me. So I hope they feel the same way. But it's hard to get somebody placed in a position as city manager because a committee selected him for the city of Nogales. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
No,
think-
that's
I
what
think
we would
that's-
recommend here too. Sometimes what councils will do is have a subcommittee of 2 or 3 in the initial, like when we have this 6 to 8 candidates, and then winnow that down, because the process is then we typically shrink it down to the top 2 to 3. But I tend to agree with you. Hearing all of you talk about how passionate you are and how important this is, that it probably makes more sense to involve the whole council right from the beginning of that short list
Yeah,
of
in
candidates.
the past, Melissa, I've been here 12 years as council and mayor twice. In the past, department heads have had an opportunity to be part of something, when it comes to selecting, because it's important, because city manager is going to be their direct boss, the department head. So, but that's as far as we go when it comes to a committee. The city council will make the final decision, and probably the majority of the interview process.
Excellent. That's good to know.
Does anybody else have anything to say? You have something?
Question.
Yes, go ahead.
This is to the city manager. Have you had any local interest?
Mayor, if I may?
Go ahead.
Sure. So far, we haven't had anything local that at least has come through HR or through my office. So in short, nothing.
And my other question is to you. The $35,000 fee excludes the traveling. Let's say you select a number of candidates to be interviewed by the council mayor. I noticed that I just got this packet, so I'm trying to go through it quickly. I noticed that the travel expenses are not included. Should they ask for travel expenses to be paid, it would be the city to pick up the cost or on their own.
For the candidates,
For
yes.
the candidates, so it's not included in the $35,000.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Most of the processes we've been doing recently have been primarily remote. Of course, not at the end though, and certainly not for this position, where it's crucial that the person, if they're not in the city there, it's crucial that they come and they visit, and there are a couple of event in person, certainly the interviewing process, but as well as getting to know the community and spending some time there. So that is correct. We would be happy to facilitate those if that helps, but then that would be the only additional fee over and above that $35,000.
And just one last question, how successful are you in finding the right fit?
Yeah, well, I think the statistic, we keep statistics on that, so 91% placements are in place after 3 years. So and that we don't track much after that. We have the 1 year guarantee, of course, but we're interested in more than a 1 year placement for you. So we track up till that. It was about a 91% still in place.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Go ahead, Councilman.
Yes, I only have one question. When recruiting, would it be, I would prefer that you recruit somebody from close by, like in Arizona, instead of, I wouldn't want somebody from the East Coast, because of the expenses for the travel and the interviews and all that. And then coming to the Southwest, it's a big difference from the East Coast. And once they get here and they start working here, or if they want to work here, they might not like it. And then I've been here 2 years now in this diocese, and I think we haven't had a full-time city manager for more than 3 months, I think, right? And it's very difficult. The last time that we advertised for a city manager, I think we received like 60-some applications. A lot of them were from the East Coast. A lot of good ones were from the East Coast. But they're expecting a big salary, like Councilman Maldonado, the mayor, mentioned. We're a small community. We don't have the, well, we have some of the big problems that the cities have too, but the cost of living here is very low. And then the person has to be very familiar with the border community, has to deal with a lot of criticism, from the Homeland Security, from the county, from other agencies within the community. So he has to be very patient and very tolerant of those of the of him being criticized by those agencies, and that's why when the mayor said that we have a lot of kids graduating from high school and they go out of town and they stay away from Nogales because there's nothing that we can offer them. But there's a lot of graduates that leave Nogales and they're being very successful everywhere else. And if they could be recruited back to Nogales, that would be a big deal for us. So
We absolutely love that strategy. One of the tools that we use extensively is LinkedIn Recruiter. You're probably familiar with LinkedIn, but what is really great about that particular tool is that we can zero in on folks who have that background, folks that relocated and are working elsewhere, but if they knew that this opportunity was available, might find this to be the right time to come back home. It's exactly one of the strategies because they're familiar with the locale. They already, being from there, yeah, that is definitely one of the things. I think in that first meeting where we talk about the ideal candidate and the profile, what I'm starting to understand and hear from you all is that we really would have probably more of a targeted, we still would do a nationwide search, but in terms of the research and the picking up the phone and talking with candidates would probably be more regionalized or courting people who had left to come back.
And the last thing that I have to add to that is if we do hire somebody, we want somebody that wants to stay here, like the mayor said, that wants to stay here at least 2 or 3 years, because we've had some that come in, not as city manager, but other departments, and they just use our city as a trampoline. They come here, they start working, they get good pay, but then they find a job somewhere else, or they want to go, and then they just leave and leave us hanging. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that. Again, these are really important points that our recruiting team will fully vet with candidates. We're going to have these hard conversations with them about, is this compensation, do you understand this compensation? Do you understand the environment? Can you and your exploring with them before you get that short list of candidates?
Councilman Murillo, do you have anything?
No, all the questions I had were asked for.
Okay. So, Robert, what do you think, Robert?
Sorry, Mayor?
What do you think?
There's no harm in engaging and see what happens. I think the biggest issue would be funding for the commitment to this. That's something we would have to sidebar on and discuss. So, any direction from council, we will go at it as hard as we can. If that's the direction we want to go.
Yeah, the way I look at it, I don't think we should make a decision right now. And in the process, the information was very good, and I honestly think your consulting firm would probably do good for Nogales. And what I heard, I loved it. It was good information, and I really think. It'd be nice if we could do it for $15,000. I'm just joking. Hey, try to negotiate. No, I'm just joking. That's border humor. But
humor is always good.
yes, I know. But it's good. What you explained, everything is fine, and I think it's a proper way that we should look for probably. Looking for a city manager, the direction we should go. But right now, it's we're not gonna be making a decision on it. Probably we'll giving direction to staff, and then to find out in reference to Mr. Thompson said, the acting city manager, because we're about that far away from starting our budget, and maybe we need to talk to Pat about this. And but one thing I want to say to you, Melissa, that whatever we do, we have to do it quick. You know, our time is just rushing by, and like Councilman Diaz mentioned, we don't have that much time for Mr. Thompson to complete his 6 months, and we are hoping to get something done before that. So you'll probably be getting a message from the acting city manager's office in reference to this, and it'll be in the near future. That's, I don't think we're going to be voting on anything right now.
That sounds just fine. It has been my absolute pleasure to spend this time with you, to learn more about what you're looking for and what your needs are. If we are so chosen, we certainly look forward to more engagement with you, and certainly ultimately a successful recruitment. So once again, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciated your engagement and all of your questions. We'll look forward to hearing back.
Thank you very much, Melissa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, take care, y'all.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye. Mr. Massey, I guess the best thing is just to give direction to see if we're funding wise.
Whatever
We don't have to
direction
vote on it.
council chooses to give city manager and staff, that's fine.
Okay, do you want to see exactly with where we're at on the funding source for this?
Yeah, I think that'd probably be the
Let's
best.
start with
first thing
that.
to do. Yes.
And if it looks promising, if that looks promising, and we all wish to consult or to go in this direction, we'll go in this direction. Or if you think we need to do something else, you got another month to think about it, at least.
The sooner the better.
Yeah, or the sooner the better. Bueno,
How much time does our acting city manager have?
he's been with us a month.
I wish. 3 months already.
You've been here 3 months?
December 2nd. But who's counting, right?
December 2nd. That's how fast it's gone. Jesus. Oh, well, we better think about it sooner than that. So
Call it a special meeting.
we'll have to call a special meeting. Because I don't know. Unless you want to make a decision right now.
I think it'll be better.
It's up to you.
We're short of time.
Can we make a decision right
You
now?
can give him direction to find the money, and if he finds the money, sign her up. I think that's within the scope of the agenda item there.
Okay, well, why don't we do that? So, let's vote on that. Giving direction to the acting city manager to see if the funds are there. And if the funds are there, then let's proceed with it. You okay? Okay. So let's vote on this. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, ayes have it. Thank you very much, Mr. Mason.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, so we're gonna adjourn.